You're listening to the Barbell Voodoo Podcast with your host, Jacob Faisigan. Hey everybody, got a great episode for you today on the Barbell Voodoo Podcast. We're actually going to release two episodes from Kris, one today and one next Monday. Hope you enjoy both of them. Also, just wanted to let you know, if you go over to Instagram, give us a follow, I'll send you a code for 20% off your next order at barbell-voodoo.com. Thanks a lot for listening, and I hope you enjoy a few words from our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Paleo Works, locally owned meal prep kitchen with a passion for paleo. They want to make it easy for you to reach your nutritional goals and to stay on track. They offer heat and eat paleo meals, athlete recovery meals, and bulk macro items. Their meals feature 100% grass-fed beef and all-natural hormone and free-range chicken and pork. Pickup locations all over Middle Tennessee, as well as some delivery options for a small fee. Paleo Works wants to make the nutrition the easiest part of your day. This podcast is also brought to you by NutriShop Franklin. Swing by NutriShop Franklin for free in-body scans, free samples, and unrivaled customer service. And when you do, tell them you heard about it from Jacob from the Barbell Voodoo Podcast. But hey, no worries. If you don't live in Franklin, you can check them out in Murfreesboro or Knoxville. Today's podcast is brought to you by Float Alchemy. Float Alchemy has modern, natural, and effective tools for fast recovery, more flexibility, and focus. We offer flotation therapy, cryotherapy, Normatec recovery, infrared saunas, and more in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. For Barbell Voodoo listeners, we are offering a one-time special price on our CrossFit recovery pack. Normally, that's $162. You get one 60-minute float, one whole-body cryo session, a 40-minute sweat in our infrared sauna, and 30 minutes of Normatec leg recovery system for only $100. Go to floatalchemy.com/barbellvoodoo to purchase your CrossFit recovery pack and use the code Voodoo at checkout to get $62 off the regular price. They also have Kombucha Tap Room. Try their painkiller. The kombucha is packed with anti-inflammatories, including fermented ginger, turmeric, and willow bark, as well as hemp CBD. It is the perfect recovery drink to hydrate and heal from the inside. Also, this podcast is brought to you by Strength Outside the Box. Strength Outside the Box is a podcast hosted by Amy Hester and Lauren Coral, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. It is all about two girls getting to the heart of how a community of CrossFit athletes is changing each other's lives one WOD at a time, while digging deep to understand how the lessons learned within the gym can provide strength for obstacles outside the box. Grab a cup of coffee and get ready to make two new gym besties as they chat with members of their own gym, neighboring gyms, and beyond. With each interview comes more laughter and a true sense of community, family, and what it means to have strength outside the box. Find them now wherever you listen to podcasts and on Instagram at Strength Outside the Box. The ladies are currently accepting suggestions for new boxes to visit and feature on their show. If you would like to nominate your awesome gym, email them at strengthoutsidethebox@gmail.com. Today's podcast is also brought to you by the Hot Room Yoga Studio, located in Cool Springs on Seabourn Lane. So you're strong, but how well do you move? Yoga at the Hot Room will help you recover quicker from those tough workouts and increase your range of motion so you can do better in the gym, bringing you pain relief and stress relief. You don't have to be gummy to get started. The knowledgeable instructors provide clear and concise instruction for beginners and are committed to helping you get the most out of each yoga class. Visit the website, thehotroomtn.com, and claim your 3 classes for $20 intro special. Don't let aches and pains slow you down. Get started today. And today's podcast is brought to you by Fight for Air Climb. Join us for the 6th annual Fight for Air Climb hosted by the American Lung Association on November 3rd, 2018. This vertical stair climb race will be held at the 505 in downtown Nashville and challenges participants to climb 45 stories. That's 862 steps to the top of the 505, which is the tallest residential building in the state of Tennessee. Registration is only $35, and there's a fundraising fee of $100 by climb day. Danny D Fitness is our official fitness sponsor, and will kick off the climb around 9 a.m. Sign up now before we fill up at www.climbnashville.org. 100% of the proceeds will go back into programs, research, and advocacy to help improve lung health and save lives. Want to participate in a more intense workout? There are only 12 spots left to participate in the pre-climb race called the Vertical Mile. This happens at 6:30 a.m. on November 3rd. To qualify to participate in this, please email abby.williams@lung.org. That's ABBYLLIAMS@LUNG.org. And today's podcast is brought to you by Danny D Fitness, owned and operated by Danny Dyer, based out of Franklin, Tennessee. She focuses on positive body image, effective workouts, and loving your journey to the healthier lifestyle. Come see Danny for one-on-one training, tandem or kids training, female small group training, group classes, pop-up events, and so much more. Visit DannyDFitness.com or find her on Instagram, Facebook at DannyDFitness1. That's Danny D Fitness and the number 1 for more info. As always, thanks again for tuning into this podcast. Please make sure you subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, leave us a comment, let us know you're out there and digging what we're doing. We are so thankful that you are listening and a part of what's going on here. As always, check out Barbell Voodoo, private label. We'd love to be a part of anything you have going on. In the meantime, enjoy the podcast.
Huh? Waiting on me, you backing up?
No, I'm ready.
Like a nickel holding up a dollar?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. I don't know.
Hey, this is Rich Froning. You're listening to Barbell Voodoo Podcast.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Barbell Voodoo Podcast. We are joined today by Kris Radican from Panama City Beach, Florida. He is the owner of CrossFit ACR and the only American StrongFit coach.
I am.
And he's here with us at Barbell Voodoo International Headquarters.
International headquarters.
Yeah,
like
that's every time I call it that on the podcast.
Yeah, it's great. It is. It's the spot.
It is the spot.
I like it.
And Rolly goes, well, I have shipped things overseas. So
there you go. It's technically, it's like the flights out of Panama City. It's an international airport.
Yeah.
They go to Mexico. That's where they go.
There you go. We're international. We're worldwide right here.
It's a worldwide.
Oh, so we Kris was up here leading a little bit of knowledge bombs with us today. We had a few CrossFit Box owners and some coaches that gathered here, and he kind of led us through some things and dropped a ton of knowledge bombs on us. And so we're trying to recover from that. And he worked us over a little bit and showed us how weak we are, or the weaknesses we have, not how weak we are.
Yeah.
But those are always great to find out. But welcome to the podcast today.
You. I appreciate it.
I'm glad you're here at the World International Headquarters of Barbell Voodoo.
I feel very pleased to be here.
So you just were birthed into being StrongFit and ACR owner. Like you have no story in the background. This is who you are and what
this is it. Yeah. Zero story.
That's how you came into it.
No.
Nah, you do have a long and sordid past of various things, which I think are pretty cool.
Long and sordid.
So how did you get to this place? Because you're in an elite category for anybody that's followed the CrossFit scene recently. You've seen a lot about StrongFit. You've seen Julian. All right, the guy
Julian
that's in
Pinot.
charge of it, that invented the originator, the founder,
originator, mad scientist.
Yeah, he's been breaking into this scene, and people have just been in awe of what he's teaching and what he has learned, and so they're starting to try to incorporate that. You can actually, in fact, take a seminar through CrossFit now, I think, with StrongFit. It usually happens in other countries, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, it's not through CrossFit. It's just only through StrongFit. But now StrongFit is an actual accredited course for additional knowledge or advanced knowledge
For those of you that have
the level 3 certification.
Yeah, that you have to keep on with your continuing education.
Continued education credit. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah. But it's an incredible thing, and so if you haven't checked that out, go to strongfit.com. I think is the website.
Strongfit.com.
A lot of stuff on there. YouTube has a lot of cool videos, but you can kind of learn more about that. If you haven't heard of that, I feel like you're living in the can, and it's time to pop the top and get out.
Yeah.
So
you get it.
That's kind of where it is. But so, being the only American StrongFit coach, so how many worldwide coaches are there?
As of right now, as far as I know, 4, but we had 2 take a test.
Okay.
Out of Switzerland.
Wow.
Not sure if they passed. I'm pretty sure they passed. They're one of the OG people with me in the first mentor group. So really smart people. I love them. So they took a test, and they'll probably be certified coaches. Yeah.
Yeah. So
maybe
super
6.
small group.
Yeah.
At most 6. Currently 4.
Yeah, 6 in the world.
And so you're in an elite group of humans who have some knowledge that honestly we all need to learn about. Those of us who are in the business of movement, especially in terms of strength and fitness, it's very helpful. But you weren't always this, and so where did you grow up, and how did you get to where you are today?
So we're gonna take it way back into 1979.
Woo!
Yeah. So, 1979. Yeah, so I was born in Parkland Hospital, if you don't know where Parkland Hospital.
When were you born in 1979?
January 19 of 1979.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I was born on the 31st.
In 1979?
Yes.
Were you really?
I'm not lying.
Dude, look at that.
Look at that. Look at that.
Fist
Look
bump.
at that.
You guys didn't see it, but there's fist bump. Yeah.
I didn't even know. I don't look that old, so you wouldn't know.
Yeah, you don't. You look 29. 29 maybe.
29 maybe.
Yeah. So, Parkland Hospital is the hospital that JFK died in.
Oh.
So
trivia.
That's the Hall of Fame. Born and raised in Dallas, Texas, inner city Dallas, actually Oak Cliff, or some people call it South Oak Cliff. Very, very inner city. Think of like wannabe South Central LA.
Yeah.
I was one of only a few white kids in my school. Me and my little brother.
You and like Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, me and Snoop.
Yeah.
I think he's from LA. But so
wasn't it South Central? Wasn't that what you were saying?
South Central, yeah. LA.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, not me though.
Right. I know.
I wasn't, yeah.
But you were saying it's similar, right?
Yeah, very similar. Very similar. Yeah.
So how many switches did you have on your car?
I didn't have a lot of switches. I didn't drive in 1979. No. The car. I grew up in inner city Dallas. My mom was a everything drug head, alcoholic. My dad was a hippie, so you can imagine what kind of stuff he did. Both of them are gone now, so I can talk about them.
Yeah.
No.
Guilt.
Yeah. No, I love my dad. Actually, my dad got custody of me in 1980, which is very rare for a man to have custody of a child, sole custody of a child.
Gosh, especially back then.
Yeah, especially during that time. So I had he was a mechanic and didn't have any money. We had a rough upbringing. When I say I grew up in the ghetto, I mean it. I grew up in the ghetto, the ghetto. So rough upbringing. There's a lot of times where I cooked my own dinner at night, and
like rough upbringing in terms of absentee because your father had to work so much to sustain living, or in terms of like abuse. Like what is?
So rough upbringing, as in. As a white kid, you either learn how to do two things: fight really well or run really fast. I learned to do both,
Smart.
depending on if my brother was with me or not. My brother was younger than me. I'm the oldest of 4 sisters and 2 brothers.
4 sisters.
4 sisters. These are I only have step and step sisters, step brothers, or half brother.
Okay.
So I'm the only child of my father's, which is a funny story in and of itself because I'm a one-night stand kid.
Huh.
Literally a one-night stand kid.
Yeah.
Dad met mom at a party, smoked a doobie, did the deal.
Yeah.
I came out 9 months later.
There you go.
So rough upbringing. My dad worked a lot. Didn't really know how to raise a kid at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Got my ass handed to me very often. Actually went to court twice for child abuse. And my dad almost lost me.
Is that out of neglect?
No, out of bruises from the back of my knees to the middle of my back.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
the discipline.
Yeah. Because, not knowing how to raise a kid, and then, being a guy working hard as hell and having a kind of hard-headed kid, I didn't help matters out sometimes. So,
you're figuring things out. To the best of your ability. And
yeah, at 6 and 7 years old, I don't know what the fuck's going on. So
sure. All you know is how you're treated and how you're trying to survive. And
yeah, exactly. So, that happened. And then, I spent every other weekend with my mom and my half brother. And, she did the same thing. She just did it with a paddle. It was a fraternity paddle because she was a smaller lady.
Yeah.
So she just beat me and my brother with a paddle. But I had some of the most fun in my life with my mom. Yeah. So she would take me. I've been to a George Michael concert with my mom. I've been to Def Leppard, White Snake, all these concerts with my mom at like the age of 8 and 9. Yeah. Like standing next to the big speaker, can't hear nothing for 3 days after, and just like watching a one-armed drummer just like beat the shit out of her drums, and like I don't know how he's going that fast, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then she was a partier, obviously, and me and my brother used to slip drinks whenever she wasn't looking from her beer bottle or whatever, and rough upbringing until my dad met my stepmom, where my sister and brother come from, and a really great lady. She's still alive. Her name's Renee. She really was the mom.
Yeah.
And had brothers and sisters. My little sister only has one arm, so that was kind of fun. Messing with her, telling her always use both hands for everything. But so she was the mom, and she took care of us more.
Def Leppard?
No.
Van Halen?
Maybe Van Halen.
One armed?
No. It was only, maybe.
I feel like somebody was one armed.
It was Def Leppard, and maybe one other. I don't think it was Van Halen. No, she was born and raised in a Navy family, so she grew up in Puerto Rico. So a white girl that can speak fluent Spanish, and she worked in. Yeah, me too. She worked in restaurants, so we got to eat at restaurants a lot.
Nice.
Because at the time we were poor. So my dad got finally ended up getting a good job at UPS. So we moved to a town called Louisville up in North Texas, about an hour and a half north of Dallas. Started living a little bit better life, kind of country boy life. There's like cornfields and stuff around. To give you kind of an idea, our high school mascot was the Farmers.
Okay. Yeah. Really intimidating.
Yeah, it's crazy intimidating. But we are also one of the best high school football teams in the entire state.
Which is a big deal.
In Texas, that is a huge deal.
Yeah.
So if you've ever read or seen the movie Friday Night Lights, those are the teams that we played.
Probably one of my favorite TV series.
Yeah, Odessa Permian, all those guys. Those are the guys that we played in the playoffs. And
so which character were you? Did you watch the series?
No, I never watched the series. I only watched the movie.
You could identify with one of the characters.
I wish I had time to watch that kind of TV, but I don't a lot. So, but yeah, that's who we played.
Full heart.
Yeah, I won the what?
Nothing.
Candles? Is that what you said?
I was having a moment. No.
So so we ended up winning a state championship. I played middle linebacker. Played freshman. Started as a freshman through high school.
So did life get kind of better?
It did get better.
There?
Yeah, it got easier because we had more money. Money makes things easier.
Yeah.
Not necessarily better, but it makes things easier.
Lowered the stress level
a little bit.
You got involved in a
sport,
highly competitive program.
Oh yeah, super competitive.
That required your focus.
Yep.
That maybe alleviated it from other places that were distracting before.
Nope, not at all. In no way, shape, or form. No, I was brought home by the police.
Yeah.
Because I was going to my girlfriend's house at midnight.
Okay.
And there was a curfew at 10. And you get brought home to my household by the police. And on the way there, I'm begging him. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You don't know my dad. Please, he's going to beat me. You think I'm kidding? No, he's going to beat me.
Yeah.
Please let me out. You can watch me walk in the door. Like I'll go in. I promise. Yeah,
right.
No, they got to knock on the door and bring me home. And do their due diligence. And my dad did. At that time, I was big enough and old enough that he stopped hitting me with a belt and started hitting me with his fist. So
different.
It was different, yeah. And I was already a big kid. Freshman in high school, I'm 205 pounds and zero body fat. So I'm a big kid.
Yeah.
My dad was a really big guy. He's close to 300 pounds. He had 5 brothers. They were all big. Like I come from, I actually did my history, and I come from a line of Vikings through Scotland, and I wish through Iceland. I wish I could claim that, but no.
That'd be cool.
But Celts and
big
Vikings,
stock.
big guys,
Comes
yeah,
from big stock.
So I got my ass handed to me by grown man wise. So I didn't do that much anymore after that.
Yeah, sure.
It was hard to walk and breathe for a while after that. So, but as I got older and had a son of my own, I started understanding that it necessarily wasn't the right way to do things, but understood the love that was, although very hard to see behind it, it was still there.
Yeah,
and
sure. Because ultimately, you discipline your children out of love.
Yeah.
But how that takes place is
Yeah, the way there's better ways to do it than others,
Sure.
And that wasn't necessarily the best way. But at the time, that was the best way to keep me from being the next statistic. I was the only kid out of all of my siblings that graduated high school. I'm the only kid that went to college.
Because you were living wide open.
I was. Yeah.
I mean, just full bore.
Yeah. For in a lot of ways. Yeah. I mean, before I started playing football, I was I won multiple gold medals in state track and shot put and disc, and went to state multiple times in a 400 meter dash, and in 8th grade, running a 56-second 400 is a big deal, and I still got my ass whooped, but I was that fast.
Yeah. So was your dad involved with that? Like
Always.
Did he always come watching that?
Always.
Yeah.
My dad never missed one thing.
He was proud of you.
Very proud. He was your typical Texas football dad.
Yeah.
He was 100% like on the sidelines. Like my dad had false teeth ever since he was in his mid-30s. And there's so many times where my dad would be yelling and his teeth come flying out of his mouth. And I don't mean like just fall out, like come like
projectile.
Yeah, there's pictures a lady was taking of me, which is the funniest thing is she was taking, and I still have a lot of them. She was taking a picture of me down the field playing this Pee Wee football. And my dad, for whatever reason, was in the big the big box that's up off the ground.
Okay.
And so was she taking pictures. I guess he knew her, they're friends. He was probably trying to hit on her or something. And there's a picture of her taking a picture of me running into the end zone, and my dad's teeth are in the background because he's yelling, and my dad's teeth are coming out. It's it's pretty funny. Here's your typical Texas high school, Texas football dad, like push me, and no, you're going to be the best. The only reason I ran track is so I could be faster for football. Like, is all that, and I was decent.
Is Texas football nowadays the same as it was?
No.
Yeah.
No, it's
because before. I mean, because the time that you're describing, especially, I mean that's what all the shows were about. I mean that's what people are documenting because of its level of intensity and skill and like everything centered around football. Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still like that, but not to the extent it was. Because we get, safer, the more knowledge we have, we get safer. We understand that kid's not just being weak. He actually has a heat stroke. You know what I mean? It's, it's those things where we don't have, we had 3-a-days where it was like, you don't go home, you don't get rest. Like we're going to do a morning, fitness, like training. And then you're going to go straight into helmets and shorts and then straight into full pads. And it's 3-a-days, right? But the only reason it's called 3-a-days instead of one just really giant long 6-hour practice is because they stopped, fed you something for 20 minutes, and then you practiced, and then they stopped and you did an hour film, and then you went and practiced. Yeah. So it was 3-a-days, but It wasn't really. It was like 7 hours, 7 hours of just straight football.
Day long, yeah.
Right? And Texas, where it's 100 degrees.
Yeah.
And it's hotter than shit. And you're just... but it made it tougher.
Yeah.
High school football now is nowhere near as tough as it used to be.
Sure.
Even in Texas. Mm-hmm. I mean, Texas football is better than any other state, football-wise, but it's not as good as it used to be.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So you make it into college. So what happens there? Like you just you keep playing football there?
No. I didn't go to college directly after high school. So I played which I think we talked about this a little bit today, but I played with a blue chip top 10 pick in the nation. His name was Shannon Brazil. He's one of those guys that he ended up going to the NFL, but he's one of those guys that you swear he knew the play.
Yeah.
You swore to God that he knew the play they were running before they even got to the line. Like, he was that guy. I mean, he was a big-time studier, he was. But on top of that, he would leap over the offensive line, Superman midair, tackle the running back in the background as soon as he got the ball. And it wouldn't be like every now and then. It would be like 6, 7, 8, 10 times a game.
Creepy often.
Like stupid. Like, you thought he knew the play.
Yeah.
You knew exactly where he was going. I mean, he's a really good athlete, and did study.
Sure.
And knew what was happening. That was his thing was football. And he ended up getting picked to go to TCU. He played at TCU with LaDainian Tomlinson. Mm-hmm. They became best friends. He actually now runs LT's foundation. The guy's name's Shannon Brazil. You can look him up. He's in the TCU Hall of Fame with LT, and great athlete. But because he was picked, and I was strong side, he was weak side, and I had just as many tackles, almost as many behind the line tackles, almost as many sacks. Mm-hmm. Like, I wasn't as good, but I was fucking good.
Yeah.
And I got a big head whenever the big D1 schools weren't sending me letters. And all of my buddies that were playing, like his little brother, Danielle Brazil, was one of my good friends. I played with him all the way through Pee Wee and everything. And he was, I was the starting running back and linebacker, and he was like the other starting running back, because we were in Wishbone at that time, and like a D or a cornerback, and we always played together. And he was getting like D1 letters because of his brother, and he was a very good athlete, and all these other guys, and I was getting like big D2 schools and really small D1 schools, and I was pissed.
Yeah. Why were you pissed? You just thought you deserved it?
I thought I was better than that. Yeah. I need to go to UT. I need to go to Baylor. I need to go to, all these other schools. And it was like University of North Texas, where I actually ended up going to college anyway. Or, all these other small schools, like schools in Minnesota. And, I was like, I want to go to FSU. I want to go to, all the, no. And I wasn't getting those letters. And, which I should have just picked UNT, because a lot of guys from our rival. So if we didn't win state or go to state, our in-town rival went Marcus and won. So it was like us and them back to back to back to back. Like, I was really lucky. My high school had almost all ex-NFL coaches or ex-NFL players that were our coaches. Right. And like our strength training guy was an ex-NFL strength training guy. Like, we were very lucky. One of the biggest schools in Texas at the time, over like almost 6,000 students in the high school. And we were really good, and we got to play a lot of big teams, and we showed out, and we won almost all the time. We were undefeated in our championship year, and all these things kind of get in your mind as a kid. And look, I'm a badass, dude. I'm the best linebacker out here.
And you're pumped full of that with every single person around.
Exactly. And, I'm one of the popular kids in class and in school, and everybody knows me, and all that kind of BS that comes along with it. And So I just got a big head, and I was like, yeah, this is stupid. Which I ended up should have gone to UNT anyway because they won like 4 or 5 years straight the Sun Belt Conference, and I would have like handfuls of rings and all this. I should have done that anyway, but hindsight's 20/20, and that's just the way things happen. And
wasn't a decision made though.
It wasn't a decision I made, so I ended up joining the Navy.
So you were like, "F this, I'm going to the Navy."
That's it.
That's basically what you did.
Basically, yeah. My dad was an Army paratrooper, freaking tank mechanic, and I was like, his dad was in the military, and my grandfather was in the Navy, and my step grandfather, I call my grandfather,
sure.
He was a cattle farmer and drove little boats in the Navy, PT boats, and so I was like, I'm going to the Navy, and actually, that's not the full story. I actually went to a recruiting office, and they had Army, Navy, Marines, and Air Force all in one.
Yeah.
And each recruiter was separated by a glass wall. Mm-hmm. And it was a glass wall or just a really big window. Anyway, so I actually, at first, I was like, I'm going to the Marines. Marines are badasses. I'm going to go be a force recon guy. I'm going to be a motherfucker.
Yeah.
So I go in there to talk to him, and the recon guy, the Marine guy was he wasn't there yet.
Okay.
And the Navy guy was like, just go in there and sit down and hang out, and he'll be back in a couple minutes. And I was like, all right. And meanwhile, the Navy guy had a couple guys coming in, and they were looking at Navy special operations and a video. He had a VHS video, popped it in, boom. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting in this Marine chair, like watching this video through this window, and I'm like, hold on, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Hold on, that looks up. I want to do. I got out of the Marines and went into the Navy, and I was like, that's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. He was like, all right.
There you go.
Signed on the dotted line, and that's what I did. I went to the Navy, went to boot camp, then I went through pre-BUDS training, which is BUDS is basically basic underwater demolition school for SEALs. Mm-hmm. Went through pre-BUDS. Everybody goes through pre-BUDS for special operations, or what they call special programs for the Navy.
Yeah. And
outside of that, I went to be a diver, and went to dive school. That was 6 months long of some of the hardest shit. Between pre-BUDS and dive school, I went through the hardest shit I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
I was doing wave torture in 32-degree water in the Great Lakes in Chicago, running mileage, doing all the stuff you see SEALs doing at BUDS. If you've never seen those videos, look them up. That's what we were doing at pre-BUDS, and then going to Panama City, Florida for dive school. And got my ass handed to me there for 6 months straight, trying to drown me, try to kill me. And
yeah, a little bit different ass handling at that point.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah.
Not much.
Okay.
It's pretty much the same to a certain point.
Okay.
BUDS is definitely much harder than dive school, but dive school is not a joke.
Sure.
And got my ass handed to me, and I wouldn't quit. I refused to. They were going to have to literally kill me before I said no.
Now, why is that?
It's my mentality. Honestly, I think it goes back to those 2 days of playing football.
Okay. I
would leave every single day with half of my linebackers coach's dip on my face mask. From him yelling at me, screaming at me, making us do all these up downs and all this stuff in full pads at 110-degree heat in Texas. Look, dude, you're in Florida, and it's 90 degrees, and I'm in the water. Good luck trying to make me quit.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I never quit. I don't have it in me. Yeah. And even at almost 40 years old today, it's good luck.
Yeah. So what's the difference in mentalities with high school not getting the schools you wanted and quitting that line which you were on, that course, and then changing over to the Navy and being relentlessly unwilling to quit or stop?
Anger.
All right. Well,
So I was pissed off that I didn't get to go where I wanted to go. And my whole thing was, fuck you, I'll show you. I'm going to the Navy. I'm going to be a badass. And that's what I did.
yeah.
And like all those colleges and those head coaches and all that stuff that like they're going to see me and be like, oh shit, we should have taken him. Like,
Yeah.
No, obviously, I'm just a stupid, 18-year-old kid.
Sure.
But that's, for me, that was the deal.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck you. All these people that talk shit about me and you're such a badass. Why do you go to college? And all that shit. Like, you know why? Because I want to be a badass, way more of a badass somewhere else.
You feel like you had more control by choosing your own course going to the Navy?
Yeah. I mean, of course. Like at that time, you graduated high school and your life is in your hands.
Yeah.
Like of course, I told my dad, and he sat there, and I told him in Golden Corral. Golden Corral was our thing. Every Wednesday, we would always go to Golden Corral. He called it the trough.
The trough. That's
my dad,
excellent description.
Yeah. My dad's a redneck hippie, and he's super Texas accent, super, like every other word was cuss word, like redneck, right? And saying, boy, we're going to go over to the trough and eat tonight. And, and that's how it was. And I asked him to meet me at the trough. And we had dinner and we were talking and, gathered up as much courage as I possibly could to tell the man I've always tried to be impressed that, you know what, I'm not going to college to play football. You're not going to have your dream of a son playing in the NFL for the Dallas Cowboys. You're going to have a son that's going in the Navy.
So he was clear about that dream for you.
Oh yeah, his
life.
Entire life. Oh yeah. And to be fair, so that was mine too.
Yeah,
that was mine too until because at that time there was no TO situations of going to like a super small D2 school and then going to the NFL.
Okay.
Like if you went anywhere less than a D, like a good D1 school, you didn't go to the NFL.
Yeah.
Like it was almost unheard of.
Sure.
Like if you go to Ohio or Texas or Baylor or all these, you don't go to the NFL. And that's some of the things that I was pissed off at because it felt to me that it killed my dream. So not being able to go to a big D1 school, of course I'm not going to the NFL by then. So I was fucking pissed and all that. And so I gathered up all the courage I could and I told my dad, look, I'm going to the Navy. And in the middle of Golden Corral, my grown-ass man, hard as a rock father started bawling his eyes out because he didn't want me to be in the military.
Why?
Because he'd been in the military, and he didn't want me going to war. And at that time, there was no war, right? We just got done from the...
but he was worried he would lose his
son,
all-star son.
He would lose his only son.
Yeah.
I'm his only blood.
Right.
I'm the only one to carry his name at that time. Mm-hmm. He's all my step siblings and all them. They didn't have our name. So, I was, and my dad was a very paternal father. I mean, he had me, one of the few fathers that had sole custody.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in the report, I actually have the report and I read it all the time. It says in there that he mentions that if he doesn't get a son, he don't know what he'll do.
Yeah.
He has to have his son. Mm-hmm. And that was his thought process. Like I told you, he beat the shit out of me, but behind that there was an immense amount of love.
And now he's worried about losing you.
Now he's going to lose me.
Yeah.
And so I joined the Navy and went to dive school and became a diver for 10 years. So
how did you get out of the Navy?
So it's a really not cool story, but it's a story.
This is great.
Yeah.
Not cool.
It's not cool. So at 10 years, when you're in the military, you have two choices: stay or go. That's like at 10 years, if you go a year after that, you're going.
Yeah.
Because now you're looking at retirement, and you're not going to do 15 and then get out. You know what I mean? Yeah. At 10, you make that decision, and at 10 years, after working for an EOD mobile unit when 9/11 happened, I was at a EOD mobile unit, and all that shit happened, and doing all kinds of demolition work and all that, and doing work at a demolition unit and diving and all that, and then being an instructor and trying to make the hardest men in the world quit, which I did a lot.
Yeah.
And, beating the shit out of guys underwater that refused to quit, and watching them drown, or not drown, but pass out underwater, and bring them back to life on the surface, and them say, that was crazy, put me back in. You know what I mean? That being in that mentality, and then going to my last duty station in Jacksonville, where I was doing real diver stuff, like, hard hat diver stuff, and, pulling, props off of propellers off of ships that were, would barely fit into a 20,000 square foot building. And I mean, where the bolts,
I can't even imagine that.
Yeah. I mean, and doing it with two guys underwater, two guys, two cranes, a bunch of chain hoist, and manpower.
Yeah.
And, the bolts were 15, 20 pounds a piece.
Crazy.
That's a bolt.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. So, doing all that stuff and having a pretty wide range of experiences, and going off and doing other things in different places of the world, and working with the SEAL team, and doing all those things, at that time, my experience level was, this is really cool stuff. I like it. Mm-hmm. But is it what I want to do for the rest of my life? And I've always had that need in the back of my head to still play ball, or to still train, or to do something else. And that's when I made the decision after hurting my back. At my last duty station, if you weren't in the water, you were pulling up and tools from the divers. And the tool basket, 150, 200 pounds of just rope pulls to you. And me being the biggest guy on the team, guess who got to do it all the time?
Yeah.
And, at that time, having zero knowledge of movement and how to do things, or not exactly the correct way.
Yeah. Fairly ironic.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hurt my back. And one day I bent over to pick up my boots, and my back popped, and I couldn't stand up straight for 2 weeks, and got x-rays and all that, MRIs and all that, and two herniated and or two bulging and one herniated disc in my L345, and screwed up my shoulder, and collapsed the inside of my calf, which I don't know if you've ever noticed, but that's like cellular. That's not muscle. That's just soft. I'm flexing. So, like 200-pound grate fell on my leg underwater at like 60 feet, and it was time.
Sure. Yeah.
It was time. I was like, all right.
Body was broken.
Yeah. I've always had that. I don't know if you call it survival instinct or whatever you want to call it, but that, all right, I'm taking too much beating.
Yeah.
And it's time to pull the ripcord, and I'm going to go do something else. And on top of that, and the bureaucracy, and I'm not very good with authority.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah. So, which is funny because now where we live, one of my sea daddy, my first boss at my first command at the EOD unit, his name's Rick Hellman, great friend of mine. He learned quickly that you don't tell me what to do. You ask me to do it, and I'll do it all day long. But if you tell me to do it, like you're the man and I'm not, then I'll just tell you to fuck off.
Sure.
And I got a lot of trouble as a young diver, and many times almost really big trouble. And so all those things combined, I was like, you know what, it's time to move on. It's 10 years. I got to do something else. And I mean, at the time, I'm a diver. I'm making all the extra pay. I'm making like $75,000 a year, and I just kind of it's one of the few times in my life where I was just like, step off the ledge, go.
Yeah.
And I did, and I went and did other things. That's when I got out and I went to college.
Yeah. So you now you're at college just as a student.
Yeah, that's it's kind of funny. That's why I went to just be a student. I went for a degree in kinesiology, and at the time, actually, kinesiology and game design. So my whole super fabulous genius idea at the time was I'm going to go be one of those EA guys that wears all the little dots, and I'm going to have a better understanding of movement, so the football players on Madden will look better, and you know this whole thing. And until I realized how much programming and math gaming takes, and I was like, that's not going to do that, so let's do something else. Not realizing that like kinesiology is like it's a shit ton of math anyway by itself. So I did health promotion and kinesiology. Actually never ended up finishing.
Okay.
Got to a point to where baby mama and baby need food on the table.
So you had a relationship with somebody at some point in there?
Yeah, I got married.
Left that out.
I did. That's a good catch.
Word.
Yeah, I got so in dive school, I met a girl and married her after knowing her for 3 weeks.
All right. Yeah.
Probably one of the biggest mistakes of my life, but it's
Seemed real rational to me.
Yeah. It's a good idea at the time.
Felt right.
Yeah, I did. Thought she was one type of person. She wasn't. And one of those kind of things. And
interesting how often I've heard that story.
Yeah, after 3 weeks, you think you know somebody.
Well, I mean, even people that have been a little longer. But, yeah.
But so my son came out of it, and Austin.
Literally.
Yeah, he did come out of it. He was he did come out of her, really. Yeah.
Thank you.
He's I caught it. I was just trying to be polite. So he's actually he's a miracle kid.
Yeah.
My wife had 5 miscarriages, and we found out that she actually had a uterus shaped like a heart. So she's not really supposed to be able to have kids. And I had my son, and he was hard-headed enough to hold on to, and it's very prevalent
where you got
now.
that?
From his grandfather, I think.
Clearly.
Yeah. But no, he's and now he's 15 and great kid, ridiculously strong kid, big kid.
Yeah.
Great kid, and that's like the one great thing that came out of that. Other than that, is pretty much a wash.
I met him about a year ago.
Yeah, it's a great kid. He's
great
way
kid.
bigger now than he used to be. He's almost as tall as I am at 15, and full of muscle and zero fat.
Man, I don't know what that's like.
Yeah, I do. And then I started drinking beer, and it went away.
Yeah. All right. So
how
does that? Does he like how much of a role do you have in his life? Like,
so I have him every other week.
Okay.
So I have as much of a role as possible in his life.
So you guys live close?
Oh, we live in we live in the same town. I have him one week, his mom has him another week, and that's the way we do it.
Yeah.
I try to spend as much time as I could or I can, and we just kind of keep grooving with life, man.
Sure.
I learned a lot of the wrong ways to do things from my father, so I try not to do those, and I do them a little bit better, and
sure.
Try to be the best at it I can when I can.
That's the goal, you know.
That's it.
You take what the good things are and the things you treasure from what you experienced, and you try to move the bad things to a little bit more healthier of a situation.
That's it. Yeah, man.
Yeah, no doubt. That's really cool. So does he play ball?
He used to. Kind of a crazy story. My life's full of crazy stories. He used to play football in Texas. Put him in Pee Wee, and it got so bad now that, like, at the time I had the most experience in football because of stuff I did after college, or during college, and then after the Navy, and they were just already having kids that were like 8 and 9 headhunting. Like just trying to take cheap shots and trying to, like, all they cared about was the big hit and all this stuff. Yeah, and all this stuff. And I was like, look, dude, my kid's amazing. He was. Yeah. Like he was one of those kids. They put him at nose guard because he was so fast off the ball. He would take the ball out of the quarterback's hands once it was hiked to him, or he would sack the quarterback. There was a game he had 16 sacks and 4 fumble recoveries.
Wow. That's
as a nose tackle.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he was stupid. They would be like, you gotta watch out for that Radican. Don't let number 33 come in. You gotta, I mean, it would just be, and then they started taking cheap shots on him. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing that. My kid, I played football from when I was 7 years old until I was 33, 34. And dude, I've had probably close to 13 concussions, and my kid didn't need to take those shots.
Right.
I mean, there's things that I can't remember before junior high.
Sure. Because
of that. And there's no reason. So I pulled him out of that. And when we moved to Panama City, he started playing in junior high. And his second year, 8th grade year, he really started complaining about one eye. It was blurry. And so I was like, all right. And got his mom to take him to the doctor and found out he had an extremely rare tumor in his eye that had separated his retina.
Okay.
And so we had to pull him out of football. Can't have any contact while doing that. And so rare, in fact, like a lot of the major eye doctors in the country came to Florida to see his eye.
Wow.
Ended up doing like some cryo treatments, trying to freeze the blood vessels that fed blood to it so it stopped growing.
Sure.
Tried surgery, and then ended up having to do radiation in his eye. So they put a little tiny radiation chip in his eye, and he had to wear like a metal eye patch and couldn't be around friends and family because of the amount of radiation that was coming out of him. And and it ended up killing the blood vessels supplying it. And so the retina's slowly, still to the day, still coming back. And he's gotten some vision back in. Like, the body's a crazy thing. It's a perfect machine. And if he uses both eyes, he has 20/20 vision.
Okay.
But if he only uses that one eye, it's like looking through milk.
Yeah.
Or milky water.
Yeah.
Like like when you wake up in the morning, your window is super frosted over, and you can see objects out there, but you can't make out definition.
Right.
Like he could sit from me to you and see you there, but he couldn't make out your facial definition.
Yeah.
And now it's gotten better. It's slowly coming back, and it's slowly getting better, but it'll never be to the point to where he can take contact.
Yeah.
So he'll never play football for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm fine with that. I'm not a football.
How's he feel about that?
I think some of the love of my football was from my dad.
Sure.
And I've never pushed my kid to do anything. I'm very much from the thought process of do everything, don't focus on one. Which is one of the reasons I hate the teen division in CrossFit. But I've never pushed him into playing football. I say, if you want to play, let's play.
Yeah.
You don't have to be me.
Right.
Like, dude, I got rings, and you don't need to have rings. Guess what my rings mean? Shit.
Yeah.
I got them. They're fancy. They're cool, full of diamonds and sparkly and all that. But you know what? At the end of the day, it don't mean nothing, man. Don't mean nothing. I'm me. You be you.
Sure.
And you make your decision on what you want to do with your life, and I'll go with you, dude. I'll support you all the way.
Yeah.
And his biggest thing has always been gymnastics.
That's cool.
He's always a kid trying to learn how to do a backflip or front flip or whatever, and he ended up teaching himself to do a lot with the trampoline or just on the ground. And when he finally got allowed to do non-contact athletic stuff, I took him to gymnastics. And started learning and fell in love with it. And he does gymnastics and parkour, and now he's actually a coach, and he coaches at the same gymnastics place 4 to 5 days a week, and has a job at 15, and
that's cool.
Coaches kids, and he loves it. And that's what he does. And other than that, he wants to be an actor and work for Disney and all that kind of stuff. So football has always been a part of our life, but it's never been pushed a part of his. So he does what he wants.
Yeah, a little different area of parenting for you, than what you experienced.
Yeah, I think it's different.
Still, this hardcore support is there.
Yeah.
It's just not necessarily the pressure to fit in one place.
Yeah, I think it's different. I've known quite a few NFL guys in my life and some MLB guys, and it's interesting talking to them because, like, my dad never really did much in football. Like, he played for LD Bell, which is a big Dallas team, and
yeah.
But he never really did much. So his dream was passed on to me. But I played minor league professional football. I played at the highest level in high school football you can get to. I won championships. I have professional championship rings. Like, I have these things, and there's no need for me to push what I wanted for my life onto my kid. I did it. Like, I'm satisfied with my life. He needs to be satisfied with his.
Yeah.
So that I never had that need to make him more than I ever was.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting talking about, from the parental perspective, especially. I was listening to another podcast this week, and they're talking about their experience with other parents in the stands.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
And so they were drawing the correlation, and I don't know if it's really true or not, between the ones that get all hot and are screaming and losing their minds are generally, their observation is generally the ones that never experienced winning as a kid or success even in sport.
Yeah.
And so they are trying to live, probably, I just have to say probably unintentionally through their kid. Because I don't think any parent would go, I'm going to do this, but it's just part of,
it just happens.
You're filling a void. And it's interesting because they were saying the quiet ones, the ones that cheer their kid on, the ones that take them to the side and say, that was great. You did a great job. Here's some things maybe you can work on, but otherwise you did a fantastic job. Who are just quietly cheering and quietly just present and active in their kids' lives are the ones that have experienced, winning and knows what that feels like and knows that that's not the end all be all. They've been there, and they go, this was great for me at this time.
Yep.
But my kid gets to experience it in their own way, in whatever way that they want to be successful.
Yeah, it's funny. So the greatest linebacker of all time to ever play the game was Ray Lewis. He's always been who I try to emulate after. Ray Lewis was a headhunter. I was a headhunter. I wanted to hit you so damn hard that your body shook and you didn't get back up.
Yeah.
That I played with an aggression that I didn't want to hurt people just to hurt people, but I wanted to hurt you bad enough to where you did not want to come anywhere close to me.
Yeah.
And that's how Ray Lewis played. He played with crazy intensity, crazy speed, crazy strength. And that's how I always emulated my game after. But once he started to slow down, and right before he retired, he has sons that play and play at a high level in high school and college at that time.
Yeah.
And because of his intensity, he was excited for his son. And even on the sideline, he was excited for his son. But he never would yell at, you need to go, He'd be like, that's all right. All right.
Yeah.
You got tackled. Good. Come on, let's go. Keep going. You're doing great. You're doing great. He was intense because of his love for his son, but he wasn't a football dad.
Yeah.
This is the greatest linebacker of all time. Mm-hmm. And his son's playing running back. And I think another son was like a quarterback or something like that. And they weren't linebackers.
Yeah.
Like his love for his son and supporting his son was huge. And he told people all the time, if my son decided not to play football, I would not care.
Yeah.
And I've told a lot of people that knew that I played ball and all that stuff, they would always ask, well, how do you feel I'm not playing? Like, if he decided to be a ballerina and wear a tutu, I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me what he wants to do. Mm-hmm. I played football. He don't need to be me. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I loved about Ray and that little thing they did about him on ESPN is being the best ever. That never transferred to his kid.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, his kid is made from great stock.
Right.
And he's going to be an athlete. And if he wants to play football, he's going to be great at it, right? He has that natural talent. But you never saw Ray Lewis like, all right, son, we're going out today to work on stuff. He didn't do that. His son had it naturally, and he just supported him.
Yeah.
And that's what, I tried to do with my kid.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's an encouragement to pursue excellence in what you do.
Yeah, of course.
Because you have played top level, you've been a part of greatness. The pursuit of excellence, you recognize, is I don't want to say glory, but that's the passion, that's the drive.
Yeah.
It's not the medals, it's not the the rings or whatever. It's you've pursued excellence and showed that you had glimmers of it, and you were recognized for it.
Yeah,
great. Well, I want to do that again in what I do next. And you want your kids, no matter what that expression is, whether that's football or dance or whatever, or theater. You want them to pursue excellence.
That's it. And dude, I tell my son all the time because he wants to be an actor, and he likes gymnastics and parkour, but he wants to be an actor. He wants to go and actually work at Disney and be a character, and and go to
those guys are freaking mind blowing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Exactly. And I've told him all the time, this dude, if that's what you want to do, let's do it. Just try your ass off at it. Just if you're going to do it, let's go do it at 100%. Let's put as much effort in it as possible.
And you have to if you're going to go to Disney.
Yeah, and if you want to be good, this is what it takes.
Yeah.
And I'll support you. Let's do it. What do you need? What do you need help with? Let's go.
Yeah.
And on top of, having him understand that, look, you don't have to go to university to get knowledge. Like you don't have to go to college.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to go to college. You can go to a trade school and make more money than people that go get a degree. You don't have to go to college. If you want to go to college, okay, but you don't have to go. Don't think that you have to go because his mom.
No one here is forcing you.
Well, his mom's one of those people that you have to go to college. Old thought process of, well, if you don't go to college, you won't be anything. Well, that's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. I know so many people that are CEOs of companies and all these things, and they went to a trade school.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Julian Pinot, one of the smartest people, my mentor, one of the smartest people in strength and conditioning in the entire world. He's a savant. Does not have a degree or anything close to a degree in his name in any way, shape, or form in anything. You know what he has a degree in? He learns by the law of Goodwill Hunting.
Yeah. How you like them apples?
Go find a book and read it. You know what I mean? And that's what he did. He went, got books, read them, figured out stuff on his own. You want to know more about nervous system? Well, let's read it. Let's find out. Let's find out people that are neurologists. Let's find out, and he finds these things and he puts them together. And that's one of the things that I tell you, because he looks up to, he's the only 15-year-old that I know that can sit down, take notes, and listen to a StrongFit seminar, because he did it in New York.
Okay.
And understand and be able to apply the principles. There's grown-ass men and women that have been coaching for 10 years that still are like, what?
Yeah.
What? And my son's like, I know how to do that. Internal torque, external torque. That's how you do it. Like, he's making his own YouTube videos on how to show people how to do at 15.
Cool. Right.
And I didn't ask him to do it. He just wanted to do it because it's one of those things where excellence recognizes excellence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know what a kid's going to be excellent in. Hopefully he's excellent in whatever he wants to do, but it's easily to recognize excellence. It's easy to recognize somebody that has more between their ears than just soft, squishy goo, right? Understanding that, when you talk and deal with somebody like Julian, there's a whole nother gear, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy reads theoretical physics for fun. Like, there's a whole nother level of something there.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And my son's doing all these, he's reading these things and taking notes and all these things. And I think it's great. And so that's what I try to get him to understand is you don't got to go to college, dude. You want to know something, read it. Read about it. You don't have to have a degree to make it in the world.
You literally have everything at your fingertips.
Dude, the internet is crazy, dude.
You know?
You can find out whatever you want on the internet. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, it's bad stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good stuff.
Clicks away.
Yeah, it's just, you know what I mean? But that's what I try to tell him and keep him understanding. Yeah, Dad went to college. Dad didn't finish college. Work where I'm at now. I own my own business. I'm making an impact across the world. Yeah. I'm one of 4 coaches in the entire world that have this knowledge and can apply it at a certain level that people can't. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I've done things in my life that people will never be able to do because they can't.
Yeah.
Because they're too afraid of one, or they just can't. Mm-hmm. Not only did I play professional football, not only did I win a state championship in the best football state there is, under some of the worst teams from Friday Night Lights, Odessa Permian, and all these guys playing against them and beating them, and Judson, and you know, all these teams, and then going to college and all this stuff. Not only that, but I'm opening my own business, running my own business, leading, you know, charging in an area that somebody has never been into, and I'm doing it all without a degree. Mm-hmm. Like you don't need a degree.
Yeah,
you need to have passion.
So why did you open up your own CrossFit box?
Yeah, so I was in school for kinesiology and you know, and they're learning, and I always had this passion for training myself usually, but as I got older and older, I started having you have that empty spot, right? You have that something's pulling on you, but you don't really know what it is, right? You don't quite know what it is, and you have to find it. You have to find it. And at the time, you know, one time it was being the best football player in the world, and the next time it was, you know, being a badass in the Navy, and then the next time it was, you know, oh shit, what do I do now? Yeah. And going through school, that's what started happening to me, and it got to a point to where I found my passion was helping people, and it's how it's always been underlining my entire life. You know, there's so many times where, you know, because I grew up in such bad kind of scenarios and such bad surroundings, and I've always wanted to try to help. Yeah. So that's what happened is in college, going through all that, and I wanted to help in something I already knew I was passionate in, and that was football. Mm-hmm. And so during college, I ran into my old buddy Daniel Brazil, who his brother had gotten out of the NFL and started playing and now coaching for a minor league professional football team. And they said, "You're coming to try out." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Dude, I haven't played football in forever, not like full contact." And he's like, "I don't care. We knew how you played. Yeah. And you're in shape. We want you to come try out." And so I did, and I made the team. And not really knowing what to expect, and I made the team, and I started training to play football. And that led me to the Michael Johnson's Performance Center, which is the most elite performance training center in the world. It's backed by Nike. Yeah. Like, you know, Ndamukong Suh, I trained with him, and, you know, all these super big names that go to the NFL, that get drafted. And I fell in love again with the training aspect. And I found myself wondering why they were doing it this way. Why did you do that? And I started asking my trainers at the time, well, why? How come you're doing it this way? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And it kind of like dawned on me that this is what I want to do. Like, I want to train people. Yeah. Like, I not only want to train people, but I want to train elite athletes. Mm-hmm. So I was like, boom, dude, that's what I'm going to do. So ended up getting involved with a gym, and becoming the director of performance and training at a gym. And we took a girls' high school volleyball team that couldn't barely make it to regionals and took them to state 2 years in a row, won. And, you know, I trained some of the guys that I played with and some upper level college guys, basketball, football. And I've been doing CrossFit since 2006. And I had a horrible experience for my first workout. Like, it was like thrusters and box jumps and fucking something else. And It was
you had me at demise when I heard thrusters.
yeah. It was ridiculous. I got a guy who was like, "You got to try this CrossFit stuff," and I was like, "What's that?" He was like, "Oh, you just do this and this and
you do some things.
Yeah.
You mark your time.
Yeah,
That's all you gotta do.
it's like it's 8 minutes, dude. It's just 8 minutes and you're done."
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, let me do your little 8-minute workout, and then I'll go do mine." Right, and completely and totally destroyed me. And I was like, "Fuck that, dude! I'll never do that again." That was the most ridiculous thing I'll ever do. And then, of course, the next week I did it again. And that was when CrossFit.com was, that was it. That's where you looked at the water of the day, and that's what you did. And I started doing that in 2006, and I would continually do that off and on. And so remembering those workouts and wanting to add some endurance training and strength and endurance at the same time, which CrossFit is the best at, right? For shortening that time, I started using that to help train my athletes. And it went from 1 day to 2 days to 3 days to where we were basically just doing CrossFit for the most part.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to go get my level 1. I started doing research, and I'm a knowledge guy. You got to know more. So I started doing research and all this stuff, and I went and got my level 1, passed with flying colors. I don't know. They don't give you.
Yeah, I was like,
dude, I easily made.
I was letting you have the color in the
I
story.
was easily made 100.
Yeah.
They said I got an A, or it was test A. I don't remember what it was.
I'm pretty sure it just says pass.
Yeah, it does. So yeah, I got my level 1, and I convinced the guy that had the gym at the time. I said, "Dude, you got to open a CrossFit gym. I can use it all the time. It'll bring money. You can start using it for people in town.
Yeah.
It'll bring money, and
I can use it all the time.
And I can use it all the time." And so we did, and I helped him start a CrossFit gym of his own, and I coached there and helped run it a little bit, and went to another gym, and really just kind of left the performance side. That's when I started really understanding that to make the biggest impact in the world, you can't look at elite athletes because you can only change them this much.
Yeah.
Elite athlete is already at such a level that the amount that you're going to change them is so negligible versus how you can change grandma. Right. The quality of life you can give grandma, or even the next, the mom that just had a kid, or the dad that, has had a heart attack or has a bum knee or whatever, and the quality of life that you can help them have to give their kids a better quality of life, or whatever it is, or, at 70 years old, that's, you're starting down on the down slope a little bit, and you want them to have the best quality of life for the remaining time, and you want to push that time as far away as you can. Right. And I started recognizing that's really where my passion started going, is that, yeah, I mean, it's cool to work with elite athletes, but they're kind of dickheads. Yeah. Like they're kind of prima donnas. They're kind of,
kind of. Yeah.
So that's why I went and started working at another gym and working with regular people, and I loved it. And,
you saw people's lives changing. You saw quality of life increasing.
All of it right in front of your eyes, man. I mean, it's there's nothing like, as a coach, seeing that light bulb movement, seeing those eyes widen and brighten when they've done something that, like what we talked today, when they've done something that they never thought they could. Yeah. That's such an endorphin rush. It's such a boost to your ego, as in, I'm the man, I can help, and of course you got to kind of cool that down, but it's awesome to help and change people's lives. Yeah. And what better way can you do that on a grander scale than the normal people, the everyday, the 99ers, the mom and dads, the normal people, right? I tell people all the time, one of the main reasons that I train, because we have a lot of first responders in the gym, now a lot of firemen, and I tell them all the time, if I can get that fireman stronger, faster, better, and so much so, instead of only being able to drag out one person, he can drag out two. Yeah. That second person he drags out, the way life works, man, that second person he drags out will end up being the person that drags him out. And you start getting this like 6 degrees of separation whenever it comes to fitness, and how it helps one person help another and helps another, and how you helping them could change their lives in a way that could help somebody else, and then it continues on its path. And you're not making an impact in one person's life so that he can be a better football player. Now you're making an impact in somebody's lives that can save lives.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So how do you know you're not just saving this kid from a fire that's the next Nobel Prize winner for developing some virus antibody that can cure cancer? Mm-hmm. You know, whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, it may sound crazy to some people, but that's the way I think about it.
Yeah.
I want to help as many people as possible, and that's kind of the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm. I love seeing people have those moments that I've had over the years. You know, like I had a girl who's been working out in my garage lately, and she came one night and she was like, "Oh, I can't stop my mind. I'm just stressed out. You know, I'm just everything's going crazy." And so, like, I had programmed some box jumps for her that night, and she was like, you know, I don't know if I can do that many, like, because they were sets of 15, and she's like, I don't know, I've never done that. I was like, that's fine. We'll do step ups. You know, eventually, you know, let's start out 5 box jumps every round, then we'll finish it with step ups. We'll see how that goes. You know, and so she gets into it, and during the strength portion of what we were working on, I was like, stop thinking. Yeah. She was overthinking everything, and she got a couple lifts that surprised her, and she's like, well, I didn't really know I could do that, you know? And I was like, great, now we got the mind kind of engaged in what we're doing out of everything. Then we went to those box jumps, and so the next round I was like, okay, give me 5. And I was like, okay, just breathe real deep, couple deep breaths. Great. Let's do 5 more. You were doing great. Plenty of clearance in the box, you know, just talking her through it. And because she happened to be the only one that showed up that night. So she had me like 100% like engaged with her. Yeah. And in the third round, she came around, and I said, that's great. Well, okay, look, I know you're tired. Let's just do 5 box jumps. And she was like, okay, I did 5. And then I was like, okay, I think you got 3 more in you. And like she would do 3, and she's like, oh gosh, okay. All right, I'm fixing to go. I was like, all right, let's try 3 more. You know, 3 was a good number for you. So she works up to 15 and without her knowledge, without her even knowing it. And at the end, I was like, I thought you told me you couldn't do 15 box jumps in a row. And she was like, well, dang. Yeah. I did that.
I did do 15.
Like, You did. And it was all you. It was moving beyond. And I love those moments of just clarity, of the realization of you might be more than you've been taught you are.
Oh, yeah.
And you might be more than what people have said you are. And you might be more than what you think about yourself.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Those are invaluable moments.
Yeah, those are light bulb moments
that I love.
Yeah.
You know, and to be a part of it, as just someone walking with her, alongside of her, is an incredible gift.
Yeah, man, that's what fuels passion, man. That's those little light bulb moments for other people, or those little diamonds in the rough that you know for a fact you just changed that person's life. Mm-hmm. You changed that person's life that day, at that time, for the better. Now they have a little bit more confidence for the next day.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's the everyday life of a coach, or it should be the everyday life of a coach. And those are the things that should drive you to do what you do.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why, like, coaches that work in my gym, you don't get paid when you first start there. Like, if you don't have the passion to do it for free, you ain't gonna have the passion when I give you money.
Right.
You know what I mean? My when I first started coaching, I coached for a year straight with $0 for a year. Yeah. That was my internship, a year before he was like, all right, I'll start paying you.
Right.
And I mean, the whole time I'm working at a feed store, throwing 100-pound bales of hay and 50-pound bags around all damn day, and the hundreds and hundreds, and I'm working at a custom cabinetry shop in the freaking heat, and you know, and have tore up hands from all the wood, and I'm working my ass off to basically spend my nights for free working to help other people. Yeah, you know, and that's what happened. You know, that's why I had to end up quitting school, because, you know, it got to a point to where, look, I got to start putting food on the table. And and as much as I want a degree, I got to put food on the table. I got to pay bills, man. But even with that, I refused. I refused to let my passion go unquenched, to just let it burn out and die and kind of fall to the wayside. I refused to do that. Yeah. The fire is too fucking hot, man. Yeah. The fire is too fucking hot for me to just do that.
Right.
So I just busted my ass. I worked worked multiple jobs and coached at night. And
so what made you switch over to owning your own box?
So my it's kind of a crazy setup. Just like a lot of other people, fear is one of the things that kind of controls your life. And out of nowhere, I found out that my dad had stage 4 lung cancer. Came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, one day, he was sucking air down a oxygen mask. 2 weeks later, he was dead.
Wow.
Went from being like, I can barely breathe, to sitting on his bed saying the last words he ever said to me, what haunts me still to this day. And he told me, I love you, take care of yourself. And haunts me all the time.
Yeah.
I can hear his voice in the back of my head when I think about that, and it will not go away. And my dad was, like I said, my dad was a redneck, and that's, take care of yourself, boy. And it just fucking won't go away. It haunts me.
Why do you think you hold on to that?
It's his last.
He knew he was leaving.
That's it.
He knew he was done.
That's it.
And he wanted to leave.
That's it. His last words. That's his last words. That's his way of saying, I love you, and make sure that you take care of yourself. Yeah. Because I can't anymore. Yeah. And it will always stay with me for the rest of my life. And one of the coolest things is, which is hard, is the last time he saw my son. At that time, he could barely keep his eyes open. He could barely sit up straight. Yeah. And, he was dying big time dying. And, he asked to see Austin, my son, and, I brought him over, and he fought to pour my son cereal. He fought to sit up straight and try to talk to him. Yeah. And that's the hardest thing, I think, is watching and seeing him fight, and spilling milk everywhere, and my son saying, "It's okay, Grandpa, I got it." Yeah. So, those two things they'll stay with me forever.
It's always hard to see, especially those strong individuals who have seemingly lost all of their power and strength.
Yeah, that's hard. And then seeing my 6-year-old understand what's going on. Yeah. And having the heart to say, don't worry about it, I got it. Yeah. So,
what character he has, man. Yeah.
He's a good kid.
He's got that from his mom. I'm straight.
Probably not. But no, you're
a pretty good guy.
Yeah, so when that happened, he left me an inheritance. He left much of his inheritance as he could. When my dad finally died, the last 10 years of his life, he was actually working for the largest electric construction company in the South, and controlled Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Yeah. In that company, he ran the largest fleet of vehicles at 280 vehicles. Mm-hmm. He was the foreman for all those vehicles, so he's in charge. Yeah. He's been a master mechanic all his life. He's one of those guys that you can tell him what's wrong with the car, and he'll say, "Turn the car on, let me listen to it." Yeah. Over the phone, and he knows what's wrong with it.
That's awesome.
Change this, boom, fixed. Mm-hmm. And because of that, the guy that owned the company, Texas guy, this is how big the company was. The guy who owned the company had lunch with Jerry Jones once a week. Mm-hmm. The owner of the Cowboys. Yeah. The billionaire. Mm-hmm. My dad was his guy. If he bought a brand new Ford Lightning and he wanted a different supercharger on it, he brought it to my dad. Yeah. If he wanted his new Cobra to have a better blower on it, he brought it to my dad. Mm-hmm. Like my dad was his guy, right? Mm-hmm. So he started making a lot of money. Mm-hmm. When he passed, he was, pushing close to $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
And remember where I started.
Yeah.
We were dirt poor. Mm-hmm. That's not a joke. We were dirt poor.
Yeah.
You know where dirt poor comes from? Dirt poor comes from not having enough money to pay for flooring in your house.
Yeah.
So you had a dirt floor. That's why it's called dirt poor. So we come from nothing to this point where my dad worked his ass off his entire life to be in a position where he made enough money to take care of everybody. And the last 5-6 years of his life, Thanksgivings were ridiculous and Christmas was ridiculous. And it was, that's when my son was here and we finally moved out of the Navy back to Texas, and he had his family back, and he had his boys back, and we would go to dinner, every Wednesday at the Trough, and at the Trough and hang out with my boy, and we would go to gun shows and do all the things that as a kid, when I hated my father because of how abusive and mean and hard-nosed he was, those last years where we were best friends, and multiple times of him telling me that he knew what he did when I was a kid was wrong and saying sorry.
Oh wow!
So those last years were amazing. And then when he had his life stolen away from him, because he stopped smoking. He smoked all his life. He stopped smoking because my son said it stank and he didn't like it. My dad quit cold turkey that day.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
That's very crazy.
And then having it stole from him, and then leaving me money, I refused and still refuse to this day to let my dad down. So, me running other gyms and doing all this stuff for other people, I had more of a passion for bigger impact. And at the time, it would take me selling everything I own, moving to another city that I don't really know, and opening a business without knowing if it'll work or not. And moving under false pretenses from my wife at that time, kind of bringing her back to her hometown so that she could leave me. And then, and then opening a gym for me was, not only did I step off of a ledge that I could not see the bottom of, I fucking ran up to it and leaped. Yeah. And I put everything that I ever owned into opening a gym, which wasn't very much.
Was this before or after she left you?
This is right before.
Okay.
And I mean, it's my gym 100%, and she has any bearing on any of it. She just wanted to be out. So leaping off of this ledge and something that I had plenty of knowledge in because of the way I am, having to collect more and more and be smarter and smarter and know more and more and be better at this and better at that, and having that drive for excellence and being the best there is to change as many lives as possible. I opened it up, and then boom, was left. And then, having my son not with me half the time, and my gym is named after my kid. That's his initials, ACR. So it was based off of fear and refusal to let those words that haunt me affect, what I did in the future, ever letting my dad down. Yeah. Not making him proud, even though he's not around. I think as a son, we're always trying and fighting and pushing to make our fathers proud.
Sure.
And I mean,
regardless of how they treated us,
completely regardless. Yeah. And for me, that was the biggest thing I could do. Was completely completely open your arms and just falling forward and hoping for the best and fucking working your ass off to make it work.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. It cannot fail. The gym cannot fail. Because I can't, this is I got everything in it. This is everything I know. This is all the time I spend. This is all the knowledge is behind it. Everything I do is for my gym to support my family, to make a fucking dent in the world.
Yeah. To
make the biggest dent possible in the world. I refuse just to worry about changing people's lives in Panama City. I want to change people's lives everywhere. Switzerland, Holland, Germany, Canada, Mexico, all over the U.S., and everywhere.
Yeah. But your gym is currently changing lives,
It is,
where it is, yeah?
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, that's why we have the coaching staff that we have. That's why I refuse to have lackluster coaches or coaches that don't have the passion that I do. I refuse to have coaches that'll just sit on their ass and just go through the motions.
Yeah.
And I've had those coaches.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with some of the biggest names in CrossFit on how to deal with those. Logan Gelbrook, the guy that owns Deuce Gym, me and him talked many, many times on coaching staff issues and what does he think I should do, and him being part of StrongFit helps. And this and talking with Julian and Richard and other coaches of you can't accept bullshit. You cannot accept this is your gym. This is what do you want it to be.
Yeah.
You make it what you want it to be. And I refuse to have those, and that's why I have coaches now that they'll work for free because they have the passion for it. And they'll push and they'll go and they'll do to make themselves better, but not only themselves better, but also make other people better. And they'll do whatever I need them to do, but even more so what the members need them to do to get better, to provide more, to change more lives, to make a dent of on their own.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, in that pursuit of excellence, in that pursuit of having a box and beyond that makes the greatest impact in the world, you get into the fold of StrongFit.
Yep.
And what's the big thing here with StrongFit? What is it that everybody needs to know about it? Like if people have never heard anything about it, what would you say to them? In a succinct way, because I have to define that for you.
Yeah, because we'll be here all night, and then tomorrow.
To me, how about I take a shot at it, and you tell me how I'm wrong and what you would explain? Is that?
Let's take a break and get a drink, and then do it.
Okay. Potty break. We'll be right back. Hey, thanks again for listening to the Barbell Voodoo podcast. Hey, if you don't mind on your way out, if you could go by Instagram and follow our page, Barbell Voodoo Podcast. It's brand new. It's part of the Barbell Voodoo family, and we would love for you to go follow us. You can also check me out at fitby40.blog. And otherwise, we'll see you next time.